Hello there everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought it would be really fun to share with you the crafting of a spring door charm herb bundle and how you could make your own. This is something I do seasonally. I like to shift the nature that is in my home and adorning my home with, well, what is in abundance around me. And while spring has been just starting here, I have been slowly collecting all of the herbs that I could to craft this bundle. Doing this works to bring the energy of the earth into your home and around your home, which I feel like really balances the energy well and allows you to maintain the space easier. It's also a beautiful way to engage with the earth and just work in your craft, and something I always deeply love. Now, I did make this guy a little bit differently than I usually do, and I will delve into that in a bit when I get into this. There were simply not as many plants to choose from as there are in other seasons, not to mention that spring comes with many plants that have very different properties and identities and feelings and powers and all these wonderful things. So it's not quite as cohesive as my usual creations, but I'm still very pleased with how it turned out. I love how wild it is, and I think it's a beautiful addition and very fitting for this time. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you how I crafted this and how you can make your own. But first, this video is sponsored, so let's hear a little bit more about that. Thank you to Scentbird for supporting this channel by sponsoring this video. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service. Through it, you can choose a new designer fragrance to try out every month for just $17. It's super flexible, so you can skip any month without penalties, and you can also upgrade to receive 2 or 3 products a month if you'd wish. With each fragrance, you'll get a 30-day supply, so you can try out fragrances before committing to a full bottle. There are over 600 designer brands to choose from, perfumes, colognes, and unisex options too, plus a bunch of indie labels as well if that's more your style. Personally, I find fragrances are a wonderful way to incorporate magic into your daily life. Choosing fragrances with certain notes that tie to properties such as protection, love, happiness, just anything that suits your fancy. And with Scentbird, I can have a lot of different options to choose from that always are interesting and exciting. This month I received Hue, Love Me, Bahia, and Exhale. Hue quickly became my favorite with its notes of rose and blood orange, though I also deeply love the peony, sandalwood, and vanilla notes in Love Me, the rose water, water lily, and cedarwood notes in Exhale, and the tuberose and golden gardenia of Bahia. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to click the link below and use my code for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That's only about $8 for your first month. Thanks again to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. Alrighty, welcome back. Let's get into it, shall we? To craft this herb bundle, you'll need some spring herbs of your choosing, twine or other natural fiber thread, something to bind it all together, and some scissors to cut said thread and trim up the bundle. For my bundle, I primarily chose to use cherry blossoms, daffodils, and snowdrops. Each of them I've gathered at different times as they've come up this season and have set them to dry for a little while. The background of the bundle is made up of a bunch of different early spring buds and blooms. There are a few plants in there that did begin to leaf out a little bit, but for the most part, everything is still just very early stages of spring here. But of course, you're more than welcome to choose any spring herb or any herb that feels good to you. I know the dandelions have started, and I've been seeing some hints of violets here and there, and anything that you have out and around you. I think the biggest piece of this is picking what grows in abundance in your area, because that's what's going to bring the most energy to your space, and what's best going to match your environment to your home, or rather your home to your environment. Like I said, I did make this bundle a little bit differently than how I typically would make a door charm. Usually when I am choosing to craft a bundle like this, I would pick herbs based off of their specific properties. And in this case, I chose simply that was growing in abundance and that I had access to. Cherry and daffodil both tie to love, and daffodil is kind of lucky. And I'm not entirely sure what snowdrops tie to. I like to think of them as something that offers a good, fresh, new beginning type of energy. And while these are all beautiful properties to work with, I typically like to choose plants that tie stronger to protection, and to have something like that hanging on my front door. I do have other charms up and available, and so this is why this has become more of a project of bringing the energy of the earth rather than something very specific. But if you are wanting to work with plants in a way that is to seek protection or to draw prosperity or anything that is a little bit more typical of being placed on the front door, absolutely feel free to work more carefully with those kinds of things. I didn't this time, but usually that is what I prefer to work towards. All this is to say, this is your bundle. Make sure that when you're crafting it yourself that you put your own spin on it, and don't be so worried about all the details. It will turn out beautifully in the end, and it's easy to craft. Nothing too complicated. It should be something that just makes you feel good and makes you proud. So with that said, let's dive into how to actually piece it all together. Like I said, I've been gathering all of my herbs for a while now, and so they've been set drying in the times that I gathered them. If you're in the same boat as me, I would recommend gathering the herbs as they come up and making sure to dry them while they're hanging. This way they will dry well for something that is to become a hanging bundle, but they also will very easily be able to be incorporated into the bundle even if they aren't fully dried. Typically, I like to gather all of my plants and tie them up pretty immediately into a bundle and allow them to dry together that way. But it isn't always that simple, and so you can stagger the drying if that's easier, or do it all at once. But ultimately, once you have all of your arrangements and plants together, all you really need to do is spend a moment tinkering with it, placing them where it feels right. Fiddle with this as long as you want, and I really like to spend time thinking about what I'm doing, putting my intent into it if it is something that has a very specific purpose, and even one like today that has a fairly wishy-washy purpose. I still spent a lot of time connecting to it and putting that energy and hope for it into it. Then when this is done, take your twine and tie it around it very, very tightly, especially if they aren't all fully dried. As the herbs dry, they will shrink down quite a bit, and you want to make sure they'll stay all together and tightly bound. I like to wrap it around a few times and then tie it off. At this point, you can snip off the excess twine, maybe create a loop in the back if you'd like to, and then snip off any of the stems that are a little bit uneven from your arranging. And once that's done, there's your bundle. They are beautiful and easy to make, and you can just take it and hang it up right on your door. Like I said, this is a craft I do seasonally, and it's one of my favorites. It always feels really special to get to engage with the earth this way, and it makes me feel really excited to be entering into the new seasons. There's always something that you can work with, and even if it turns out looking a little bit wilder like mine does this time around, there's still a lot of charm to it. So I hope you enjoy and feel inspired to make your own. If you do, please tag me on a post on Instagram or something. I really love to see what you make, and it means the world every time I get to see a post. So thank you to those of you that did with the recent recipe I shared. That was really fun to see, and all of them turned out so beautifully. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you can and would like to, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon. There I share art, herbal profiles, book recommendations, and monthly workshops that are chosen by you. It's really what keeps things afloat over here. I couldn't be doing this without you guys over there, so thank you so much for those of you who are there every month and engaging with the content there. It is wonderful, and it truly means the world to me. And if you would like to, I also have another channel. There I share vlogs of my day-to-day life, far more herbalism and magic and adventures, a lot of behind the scenes to making these videos, and you can have some glimpses at other projects or just my life and nature and those kinds of fun things. So with that said, thank you again for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you again soon.